Welcome back to Between the Edits. Here we have the wonderful Kiana Alexandria, full name Kiana Holder, is that correct?
Mhm.
Perfect. And so that is the name, Kiana Holder is the name for your children's books. Kiana Alexandria is going to be the pen name for your upcoming debut novel.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, perfect. Okay, and then what is that novel? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's called Etheris Forged in Ruin and Turmoil. It's supposed to be a high fantasy. I grew up loving Avatar,
Hmm.
Narnia. I'm a very big Sarah J. Maas fan. She got
Yeah.
me into and then I really admire Raven Kennedy. So think of a blend fusion of some of those concepts, but there's fairies, there are, I call them etherborn,
Okay.
but like witches, warlocks, and then there's humans. So it's just a blend of three species and just trying to navigate the differences. They all have unique, different strengths and weaknesses. And when there's differences, people don't always get along.
Hmm.
So basically, I really wanted to show how bad a character could get before they turned good. So it's not a redemption arc, at least not yet, not in the first book, but
Gotcha. Yeah. So so there is a redemption arc, but there's a lot you have to get a while before you get that payoff, it sounds like.
yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Okay. That's a really cool. I remember when we had our first campaign call where we were planning everything, and you told me this originally. I remember saying, and I still think now, that's a really cool concept for a book, right? So there's the high fantasy elements, which are super popular right now. Everybody loves them, right? Really, really interesting to read about. There's a lot that you can do with that that still feels unique to readers because there's so much you can play with within that. But the idea of wanting to see how far you could push a character before you get that payoff for the reader, I think that's going to be really interesting to experience for the reader for this book. I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely my idea. How much decisions can she do wrong before you don't like her? I really want you to empathize with her and see kind of how her brain works because I totally believe we all operate in a gray. Nobody's super good and there are nobody's super bad. Like we
Mhm.
make choices every day. So what happens if you just keep choosing the bad choices?
Right. You said you were a big Sarah J. Maas fan, right? Any
Hmm.
inspiration here from Nesta's character by chance?
Um, a little bit. I
Okay.
much like Nesta. I know that is a hard take opinion. But, I understood why she was the way she was, and honestly, I didn't understand till she had her book. Because
Mm,
before, you're the older sister. Why are you sitting there doing nothing?
right.
But I understand. I feel like sometimes we judge so quickly because obviously, it's a make-believe book, it's fiction. But we judge. But then you're like, if I was put in that same situation, would I make a different decision? We don't know.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's easy to be the armchair quarterback sitting there reading the book completely removed from everything. You feel like you're immersed in it, right? And you know all the details that maybe the character doesn't, and it's really easy to be like, oh, this character. But in reality, yeah, I mean, if we were to be in those very same situations, I mean, I think most of us probably wouldn't get on the dragon's back. I think probably most of us wouldn't take the red pill, whatever it is, you know? Um, so yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's a little bit about Etheris, which is really exciting. Um, Take us through a little bit of the journey of what inspired this book. You touched a little bit about kind of what your goals were for the book, but how did you get the idea? Where did it come from? Take us through the journey of how you got here. This is your third book, first being a YA, not a children's book, correct?
Exactly. Um, I grew up loving to read. Actually, let me preface. I started not liking reading. My parents bribed me when I was like 8 years old, and they're like, if you read one book, you'll get $5 per book. And I was like, okay.
Good
I
parents.
will. Yeah, so they thought, she's not going to read a lot of books. We went to the bookstore, we got a few, and I just fell in love with reading. Obviously, money was a great motivator, but I didn't realize I would actually like it. And maybe it was during like summer break. So maybe after like a month or so, taught myself how to speed read.
Oh, wow.
Go through books in like a day, sometimes 2 days. And I was just making money. I was like, I have over $100 at this point. So from there, it introduced my love of reading. And it was definitely all fantasy. I love Hunger Games, so I guess also sci-fi too, and
Mhm.
dystopia. But Maze Runner was really good. Stuff
Nice.
like that I kind of grew up on. But after I did all that, years later, I went to university and we had too many textbooks. So I
Yeah.
stopped. I was like, I can't do that. I can't balance like reading a textbook and reading a book. So I stopped. And then what reintroduced my love to reading was again Sarah J. Maas. Um, and then from there, I was like, I have an idea. Like, I have this story brewing in my mind. It also helped when I was little. Like, my parents used to always tell me, like, these fantasy stories. Like, they would
Oh.
just, like your bedtime story before bed. And my dad made like he had the story about an eagle, and this eagle story stayed in my head. So I've taken elements from like stuff I've read, stories like my parents told me growing up, and then shows that I've watched. And that kind of blend developed this idea in my mind for this book. And I'm very much I can't just do one thing. So while this idea was brewing, another idea for my next novel was brewing as well. So I'm like, okay, which one do I do first? And this one won out, Etheris. So that's how we kind of got to here. And I started writing it about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Um, so I guess just end of COVID, that would kind of
Mhm.
be. And I got into it, made it about like 11 chapters, and then I don't know, I wasn't feeling it. So I just stopped. I was like, this is not where I want to go with this. So then fast track to 2024, I was like, you know what? I'm ready to like conquer this again. Let's try it.
Back up
So I
again.
basically wrote all the 11 chapters, kept some of the same elements, but rewrote a lot and just kept writing. So I finished the book. I think it was like January of this year. And then it just went into editing. So it's still in editing because
Mhm.
as we know, there's editing it's a beast.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
but it's my book is it has improved so much and it's definitely against a lot of the elements are the same, but just so many things have grown from where I started to where it is now.
Hmm.
And I like the book is done. I'm writing book two right now. Finished the novella. So it's gonna be a neat, tidy package by the time everyone gets to read the first book.
Amazing. Yeah. And so you already have plans for a full trilogy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I may have misheard, but did you say that there's going to be like almost like a companion novella for that, or is that one of the three?
So there's gonna be a companion novella.
Cool.
My goal would be I'm going to release book one, then the companion novella, and then book two will come out.
Gotcha. Okay. So the companion novella is almost going to be like a 1.5 as far as like in sequence, or is it outside of that chronological order of the one through three?
That's a really great question. It's a prequel.
Okay.
Um, with it'll just give you more context on one of the main characters and kind of give you a bit more idea and motive as to why she does like what she does.
Perfect. Oh, that's
Yeah,
exciting. I
it's
love that.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we've gotten a little bit into how you got the inspiration, right, and wanted to write this novel. Um, let's touch a little bit on being an author, right? So, as I mentioned previously, you are an author of a couple of children's books and will continue to do so, but you're also branching out into this YA venture. Um, Completely different, right? Similar in a number of ways, but still very much different beasts, writing a children's book versus writing, a full-length adult novel, YA novel. Um, what are some of the things that have surprised you about being an author? So, maybe some of your favorite things, some things you weren't expecting, or some of your least favorite things about what it means to be an author and your experiences so far.
Hmm. So, favorite thing about being author is I just I love writing and I love being able to create this unique, beautiful world like from my thoughts, like in my head. And the best part is when like it starts coming to life, like when you're writing and the characters just start doing things. So like I might have a plan in my head and then like I'll be writing and a character will just do something else. And it's the best feeling because it just feels like the fantasy element. So my favorite genre is fantasy. I write it. I love reading it. Even like regarding like my children's books, they're more the first one I have is My Beautiful Curly Hair, and it's more about self-acceptance versus the second book, Naomi's Imagination. It gets into the fantasy element. I kind of wanted to do is like using your imagination. And I feel like it's so important. So when I like spin off to the adult fantasy, I'm just like fantasy. So I just like the make believe and just thinking of things that like are just not possible in real life. Because reading I think could be is a fun escape. So like making absurd stuff, like nobody is going to think of a flying unicorn. Like that is just not real. But yeah, something I hate for like as an author or don't like. Marketing. I very much struggle with marketing because it's like you have this big idea and you can't wait for everybody to hear and like learn about this, like share this big idea that you have. And then it's just like, ooh, I now have to find said people. And then as an indie author, I feel like it is so much harder because it's like you're not, you have to figure out how to get your book in stores because you don't have like a big marketing team like backing you.
Mhm.
But like on top of that, it's there's a lot of upfront fees.
Yeah,
And like just traditionally published, they usually cover those things, but like without the backing of a publisher, it's just like you're budgeting and trying to figure out how to make the best novel on a great budget.
right. Yeah. It's actually one of the things that so in with the authors I've spoken to so far, right, in doing this, that is the number one answer to this question. In fact, I can't recall an author who hasn't said the marketing is the part that they least enjoy about it because I think sometimes it's a personality thing, right? Like a lot of authors tend to be more introverted, which is not to say that they can't also be extroverted, but they definitely have some introverted elements to the personality. And so marketing is like very much outside of that comfort zone. But then also just realizing how much effort it takes, how consistent you have to be with it, staying up with the trends and everything like that. Absolutely. Yeah, that is probably the number one answer I've heard when asking this question. The marketing can be really difficult. In light of that, is there anything that you have found to be helpful with marketing as an indie author?
I'm definitely team TikTok.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I will post the same videos on Instagram as well as TikTok. And TikTok is just, it's more reach and more natural engagement versus like Instagram. I'm very much working for it. What else has worked for me? For my children's book, I did a book tour. So it was more so not the same as like what we would see on Instagram, but this was more so as like a book blog tour. So it went to like a bunch of different blogs.
Okay.
That nice. Um, the return wasn't exactly what I thought it would be, but it was great exposure.
Okay.
And a like review, so that was pretty helpful. Other than that, my best way of selling so far was doing book signings at like bookstores.
Oh yeah,
Those have been amazing. And then like meeting people in person, so getting like that personal
absolutely.
element, that has been, I guess, like the best way I've sold books. And then like word of mouth.
Hmm. Which is interesting. When I think about the type of content that tends to do well on social media, and TikTok is one that I am personally not on. In my personal life, I don't use really any social media, but in doing our connections and my editing and everything, definitely have had to branch out and do those things. TikTok is one that I'll be honest with you. I was like, I'll get to that one eventually, and so maybe it's time that I kind of invest in that. But at least from what I've seen, there's kind of two things that tend to do really well. One is the comedic fun kind of elements, and the other one is the ultra personal touch, which it's so interesting that that's what does so well on social media and does in real life. Like it just makes a lot of sense. Like that's what we're all looking for to begin with. So I think it's really encouraging to hear that you have done the best as far as sales for your book with that real life in-person touch of just connecting with the people in your community and being able to represent your book in person. Yeah.
That And I didn't know that because I'm both. I am an introvert and I am an extrovert. I'm right in the middle. And talking to people is hard sometimes. So
Yeah.
like really putting yourself out there when you have to be like, can I talk to you about my book for 5 seconds?
Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
there was a book event. And it was specifically for authors to come and, do marketing for their book. But it was at this square in the downtown of area of where I live. And all these authors were sitting out with their books. And me and my boyfriend went. And I was like, this was when I had just started doing editing. And so I was like, oh, maybe I can go, get some clients that way. And I got there and I looked at the event and I was like, this is not an event to find resources for authors. This is an event for authors to sell their books, like for them to talk about their work, not for me to try and get them to let me edit stuff for them. And so I remember walking through the entire thing and just having that feeling of like, this is not the time. This is not the time. This is not the place. And so we just walked through and, I got to see the authors and it was really, really cool. But yeah, it's very much a thing of it would have been nerve-wracking for me to go and have to promote myself, as an editor, right? But then I was in the author shoes at that point, and I was like, I just as nervous as I'm feeling right now. They're nervous sitting there, looking at everybody walking by, wanting to talk to them about their books. And I'm just like, the last thing I want to do here is try to change what the spirit of that event is supposed to be for. So that was a good lesson for me as somebody who provides author services. Just like being in the shoes of the author, like I can totally see where you're coming from of just that how it can be difficult to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Honestly, I would have been like, just give your business card, just because it's so hard. It is. Like, I think that was a hurdle that I had because, like, as a writer, you just write your book and then you're just like, okay, what do I do next?
Hmm.
And I self-publishing is so big now.
Right,
There's a lot of people who don't even edit their books anymore. Like, they self-edit and then they just like publish it.
right,
Um, because they don't know or they just don't have the financial means to do
exactly.
so. But I do think like it would be helpful because even if you're overwhelmed at that moment, you'd be like, at least I have like the business card. Because I remember I looked all over social media and it's so hard because you're like, this is my baby. Like, this is my little pet
Right.
project that I have.
Yeah.
And then like trying to find someone to be like, can I trust you with this, like this baby that I have?
Right. Yeah, man, you sound just like my boyfriend. He was like, give your card to people. And I'm like, no. Awesome. Okay, so we kind of touched on your favorite part of being an author, the least favorite part of being an author. Somewhere in there might have been a little bit the answer to this one, but what about the thing that you least expected? What is another way to phrase it would be what surprised you most about becoming an author, specifically for kind of this new venture of getting into some of the YA and adult fiction spaces?
Um, Honestly and truly, it was cost. So again, I have experience making children's books. So like I thought it would be a little more, but not too much more. But I think things that I didn't realize is I'm such a girl's girl. Like I'm a girly girl. So I wanted a pretty book.
Hmm.
So for a book, like a book cover artist, and I'm very into supporting artists and stuff, so I had to go find one. And the person I found, he's amazing. And I didn't realize, like, for the book cover, and then there's sprayed edges, and then what else is there? There's like the book, I don't know what it's called, the end papers, and then there's the map, and then there's not just like the hardcover wrap, but like it's also like the hardcover of the book. And then there's like a difference between like what you put on all those stuff. And because I wanted my book to be really pretty, I'm like, yeah, do everything. Like I want everything. And I'm so excited for like how everything is gonna come together. But it wasn't what I expected,
Mm,
cost wise. And I've seen a bunch of other authors and like I'm not even paying a lot compared to like other people,
hmm.
but just what it is for publishing nowadays. And because self-publishing is such a big thing now, like there's a big market for artists to, you know, work with.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you go about finding your artist?
Honestly, I Instagram, I looked at it was like a big company before that I wanted to go with, and I liked them because it was like you didn't have to pay up front. You only paid if you liked the design.
Hmm.
So I for like 2 to 3, maybe like 2.5 months. And we just couldn't align vision wise. So I was like, I'm sorry, like I can't go forward. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want a big company. I want like a one person team.
Hmm.
So I searched and then I came across this account that I use. It's called Graphic Arts Soul, I believe, and loved everything that he did. And I knew it was like a one person account. And I think the one person run business, it's very personal.
Right.
Like like we talked about my concept. I'm like, look, I tried a big company and we just it wasn't what I wanted. And it's just like, okay. And literally his first try on the cover, I was like, I love it. Like this we can work with this. This is great. So Instagram is a very helpful tool, but it is a lot of research.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, maybe we can give him a little shout out, put his information in the show notes here, so people can go and check him out and see what he's doing. We're going to take a quick break from the conversation so I can tell you a little bit about a great product. I want to tell you about the Tertulia for Authors website builder. As someone who made their own website when I first started freelance editing, I can tell you that it took hours of frustration to end up with a website that had half the functionality of the Tertulia for Authors website builder. This resource is specifically designed for authors, whether you're published or not. It's easily customizable, incredibly user-friendly, and puts vital marketing tools at the fingertips of authors, like blogs, event calendars, reader magnets, and email lists. And it's really affordable. So if you're an author looking to establish a website for the first time, or an author who already has a website but is looking to switch to a more manageable software, use the affiliate link in the description to sign up with Tortilla for Authors. Using this link does help support the podcast and is greatly appreciated. Now back to the podcast. So then
100%.
the next kind of questions that I had for you here, um, that kind of transitions really nicely into what's been the most exciting part of working on this book.
Mm. I've had a couple artists draw a couple characters, and that was really, really exciting. Just bringing the characters to life. the map actually, I designed it myself. And that was really fun, just being like, okay, where am I putting the forest? Where are we putting the city? Like it just made it so real. But as we get closer to the release date and solidifying like the cover design and everything and knowing like we're this close to like printing it and like having the book in my hands is so exciting. So just everything making it more real, all the little add-ons.
Oh, that's a beautiful answer. Yeah, just making it more real, right? You talked earlier about how you had this idea in your head and it's a big idea and you want nothing more than to give it to the world and to realize that all the things that you have to do to get from point A to point B, right? But then the further along you get in that journey, the more excitement builds because your big idea is becoming tangible. And
Yeah.
I don't know of anything else other than maybe children, right? Having children, building a family, that kind of stuff that comes as close to that sense of like pride and accomplishment that you get from taking a big dream like that and making it real.
I will highlight though, there's also like fear, like
Oh,
imposter. It's like super excited, fear coming in, super fear coming in.
yeah. Well, and I feel like especially for independent authors, right? Because like we talked about earlier, there's all kinds of support and resources and things that are available to you going through traditional publishing. But the trade-off for that is that there are more hands in the pot, and there are more cooks in the kitchen. They get to have a little bit of say in what the final product looks like, your big idea, your big vision. Whereas if you're doing independent publishing, you have to foot a lot of the cost. You have to foot a lot of that bill. You have to go and do the work of finding all the resources to make your dream come true, and that can take a lot more time sometimes. Um, but then it's completely and uniquely your own. But then there's the that fear of, like you get a little bit of sense of peace, right? Working with somebody who's done it several times and has a whole industry to support it and everything like that, a huge marketing team, all that kind of stuff. But then the fear of this is my baby and and I'm doing my best here, you know. It can be tricky, and so there's a very beautiful aspect of independent authoring, and then there's that trade-off of, the stakes can sometimes feel a lot higher.
Yeah. That literally that I've seen a couple authors on TikTok actually that have shared like they work for a publishing company
Hmm.
and as um go off into their author journey, like their new debut novels and stuff. They're like, we're deciding to self-publish. And people were like, I don't understand. You work for a publishing
Right,
company. Why
yeah.
would you publish? And a lot that I've seen is at least as indie publishers, you get to choose everything
Hmm.
essentially. So it's like a trade-off. It's like sometimes people will like that everyone the company kind of is like, this is the cover, this is why you should choose it. This is the great like markability
Hmm.
of versus as indie, it's like you just get to choose the cover you like and you hope everyone else likes it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, that's really well put. Like, with the bigger marketing team and all those people coming to you and saying this is what's going to do well, you don't have to make as many decisions. Like decision fatigue is a real thing, and especially with something like this, each decision feels like it carries such weight. So it is sometimes nice to rely on the experience and research team of the publishers to kind of help you figure out what those choices are, could be, should be, however you want to phrase that. Whereas with the indie author, you do what feels best to you and hope that that's what works well for everyone else too. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And I think that's also one of the cool things about working with an artist too is like you were talking about for the design of your book and all of the little add-ons that are making it feel more real and tangible. Working with an artist, right, as opposed to maybe doing the art yourself, right, or however you would go about doing that. Um, they've probably made books, make covers for other, authors too, and they've seen how those books have done. So you almost get a little bit of taste of that still. You don't have to go the full traditional publishing route, but the more people that you personally vet and bring into that process, the more insight you're going to be able to glean from their experiences too.
Exactly.
Okay. Kind of again along those same lines. So support from other people in the industry and the resources that you're looking at. But what did the support from your personal life, so friends, family, loved ones, look like during this process for you?
Yeah, so a lot of my friends, even my family, I would not shut up about my idea. I'd be like, I have this idea, but I was very, I'm weird. So essentially, when the book was done, I was like, this is this and this what's happened here, and this is what happens here. And they're like, I don't get it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to spoil it for you. You're gonna have to read it. But I'm like, I'm so excited about this, and this character does that. They're like, can I have a name? I'm like, no, because then it would just ruin the plot twist. So like in the building stage, I was like, this is what I'm thinking of. And then as soon as I finished it, I was like, you're gonna have to wait till like I finish editing and then you could read it. But I know at the beginning, I was just kind of like, I have to do one edit. So I did the one edit and then I said I would give it to like my friends. And then I'm like, wait, no, I have to do a second edit. And it just kept adding the amount of edits. I think it was just kind of like, this is literally my baby. I love it. You better love it too. There is no other option. Love my book. I'm so hesitant to like share it. And then eventually when I did, and I just remember one of my friends being like, oh my, like I love it. And she would give me little like snippets. She made like a note in her phone. So as she was reading it, she'd be like um let's say chapter 11. I love when this part happened. Like, oh my gosh, he didn't do that. And I was like, hee hee, I'm glad you love it.
That's a good
Like
friend. That's a really good friend.
it was so great. And then honestly, even like with the people like I've had like edit my book, so great. Like their comments and like as you read through the book and you like see
Mhm.
it, it's like, oh my gosh, like this happened. Like I'm shaking. And I'm like, those are the best. Like they just it gives you the courage you need to like keep writing, especially as like my debut like novel. Like this isn't a children's book. Children's book, to me at least, are really easy to write because they're short. But
Mhm.
for a novel, my book right now is like 120 something thousand words. Okay.
Right.
It's a lot. So it means the world for everyone who's read it.
That's amazing. Okay, I love that. And then what would you say is at least one big takeaway that you want readers to leave this first book with after reading Etheris?
Hmm. I really want them to relate. Like feel a lot of empathy and just be like, nobody's perfect. Like I think we all try to be perfect, but nobody's perfect. But the best symbol that I can kind of relate to is like there is a light at the end of a like of the tunnel.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's pretty dark, but there is a light and you don't have to have it all figured it out. Like just take one step after the other and it's okay to fail. Like it's okay to fail because I feel like to be human is to make mistakes. To be human is to fall down and then get back up. I think it's just we've lost the race if we don't get back up anymore.
I swear I didn't plan this, but I wanted to end this interview on a quote that you had put recently on your Instagram when I was doing some research in preparation for this. And I think it just perfectly kind of ties into what you're saying there is this main takeaway from your book, which is it was the G.K. Chesterton quote. Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us dragons exist, but because they tell us dragons can be beaten. And so I feel like that just perfectly ties into what you were saying there. You know, if what inspired you about that quote and how does that show up in your novel?
Yeah, honestly, the novel's built so much on that. Just knowing one, it's fantasy, so anything that happened, and I think as writers, it gives us a lot of wiggle room to put hidden little like cherries, I guess is the best way I can say it. Like bits of like knowledge and wisdom to like carry you on and know like if you're going through something and it looks dark and it looks scary and you don't understand, like you're gonna beat this. Like you will survive, you will thrive, even if it looks dark in this moment. And I think especially for my main character, Reina. This is very, very heavy in her life. I mean, even like my life personally, like it's just we all go through things. So like just knowing there's a way out.
Yeah.
There is a way out.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Perfect. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for hopping on the interview here. I know after listening to this, I personally want to read it, right? And so if you guys, in the meantime, want to go ahead and follow Kiana, you'll see even more fun updates about the book as we get closer to that, release date information, all that good stuff. And so I've really appreciated getting to talk to you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast here. Any final words you want to leave the readers with?
Thank you so much. And honestly, I would just say support indie authors. Give us all a chance. We all put our blood, sweat, and tears into books. So honestly, a like, a comment, a follow, like all of that is support. So thank you so
Crazy how much that affects the algorithms.
Yes, so much. A simple comment, like a simple like heart or a that looks interesting, changes the world for us, okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. Amen to that. Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.